sitting at a table interviewing students, because I find they have a ton of ideas in their head. It's just getting them on the paper that's the hard part. And so I will interview students and I take notes. I ask them questions about what they're choosing to write about and what their ideas are, and I take the notes and I give it to them, and they go home with a format, a designed format that they can write from. And I find kids that are willing to work at this, by the time they get to the middle of sophomore year, they say, you know, I think I can do this without help now. And that's the goal, is they become strong, independent writers. But sometimes here to here is the hard part in writing. Books, we read a lot of books. I believe that I do not like kids to read 300 pages of something that's incredibly boring to them. So there's a few books, we all read the same book, but mostly they get to take a book, read the first 40 that they think they want, read the first 40 or 50 pages. If you can't get into it, bring it back right away and exchange it. Because I'd like them to have something. In most cases, there's 4 or 5 choices. Right now we're doing Asia. One group is reading Wild Swans, which is a story of communism's development through one family. One group is doing your geisha book, but some memoirs of a geisha. Some are doing a story about adolescence in China at the end of the samurai era. You know, we're doing a wide variety of different things along the topic. We do that there too. Students are expected to maintain a 70% average in high school here. Any student who turns their work in on time will easily have a 70% average. We believe that it's more important that you learn something than that you do well on the test the first time. So often there's options to retake tests. If you really don't get it, if you don't get something, we expect you to come in and talk about it and work it out. There's some concepts in biology that have been really hard this year. So we sit down and we work it out until you get it. If you take a test and you don't get it, it's often best to come back and say, I'm going to really study this hard, can I retake the test? You know, we want them to succeed, and they have to have the basic idea that they can and they will succeed if they work hard. It's hard work. I can't tell you it's easy, but if you work at it. Most parents will tell you that the biggest learning for freshmen in our program is not academic, it's time management. Managing time is the challenge. And think about adults. That's life. You've got to be able to manage time. And so this is a step of that. Any questions about any of this? I'd like you to turn to the back white page we haven't done. Now we're going to talk about the parent part a little bit. Oh, and attendance. So students, when you come on Wednesday morning for science, if you miss that day, you really are missing a week of science, aren't you? It's like missing 5 days at 5-day school. So attendance is really, really important here. But we all get sick. So you're going to miss 2 days in a semester, and we totally accept that. But in high school, I wasn't there is not an excuse for not doing the work. If you've missed a day, we anticipate that mom or you call the main office first thing in the morning and tell them you're home with the flu. And then in the afternoon, you call your teacher and say, Mrs. McClintock, I missed math today. What should I do to get caught up? And if it's something you need to come in and meet individually with her for, you can do that. If it's something we can do alone through the internet, that's okay. But what happens in school is really important for what you do for the rest of the week. So absence is crucial. If you get to the point where you have a third absence, then we need to sit down and have a discussion about, is it possible to complete the class? There are basically 17 class periods in a semester. So once you've missed 3, you're down 18% or something. Okay? So that's significant. So being responsible for that which you miss is really important. parents, our hope is that as you move into high school, your role will change a little more from teacher to chief cheerleader and primary editor. This means that you become a resource for your student. And you encourage them and you help them, and if it's a math problem you can do, you help them with it. If it's a math problem nobody in your house can do, then you're the one that says, oh, I bet you can send Mrs. McClintock an email. Okay? You help them become responsible for their own education. And it is harder the first year. But one thing that we do that's helpful for that is the first Friday morning of every month, we have a parent meeting. And at that parent meeting, we discuss the choices of books, because some people have strong feelings about good books or not good books. We talk about what's happening that month, and what the big projects are and what's going on, so that you can be that cheerleader, so that you can help your student do it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you taking their papers that they've written and editing them. One of my daughters took high school AP English. They wrote a paper a night for 6 weeks, an essay a night for 6 weeks. Every morning when I came down to make coffee, there it was. Every morning I edited a paper. Now, I didn't get on the computer and change it. I didn't tell her how to fix the spelling. I just circled the things she had to check, as they got there. I made a few comments. Doing it is their job. Helping them identify it is a great thing to do while they need it. She went to Gonzaga, and I got papers on the email. She went to NBC, and I got papers on the email that ended up in the Wall Street Journal. I am no longer editing her work. But it was a long time and for her, it was just a little security to know that before I turn it into some really big wig at the station, at the television station, somebody else has put their eyes on it and let me know, because she got read the Riot Act one day for a spelling mistake, so she decided forever we're going to be checked. But kids, it's really good to have somebody look over your stuff. You're going to fix it, they're just going to identify what needs to be worked on. So parents need to be involved. We have meetings, we talk about things, we have great parents. We get to do field trips like we're doing the next 2 weeks, because we have parents that join us and help us do things. And that allows our kids to have opportunities over and beyond what can be happening in regular schools. And so if the parents know, another piece that your student may need you to sit with them and do with them for the first semester or first year is the weekly accountability for any outside classes. And so, what did you send to your teacher this week about your PE? What did you do for this? Often I suggest too, if daytimers have worked for your student, that you get them one, and you take the assignment sheets they get, and you sit down maybe on a Thursday night, every week the same time if you can, and you think, okay, here's what you're doing for this week. Put what you need to do into the daytimer. And so the students and you together have made a plan for their week. Oh, we're going to be gone all day on Tuesday, so your Tuesday portion has to be done on Sunday and Monday, or however it works in your family. But to teach them off the bat to take the whole picture and break it into pieces. And look at the week and look at the doctor's appointments or the bike ride you've committed to going on or the music lesson, whatever it is, and make that plan. And if they've done that and broken it into days, then each day, when they do their work, when they tell you they're done, say, okay, show me that you finished everything on your list. Some form of short-term accountability is really helpful in the struggle to learn time management. One really fun thing about being in high school here is you get to learn with your student. Geometry is a very practical kind of subject. It applies in many places. And I use it constantly, but I have to constantly go back and try to remember what I did in it long ago. But as you work with your students, you relearn it. we read great books, and I encourage the parents to read them, and we will have probably a curriculum meeting or something before the end, at the very end of the school year. And I allow parents to take books home and read them ahead. In fact, Ellen has been very valuable this year in helping me read some books to make sure, I can't read everything that's good out there. And I want to know if it's good, if it's appropriate, if it tells what it needs to do. And so we all filter some of the reading. My only thing is you can't have them when the kids need them because I don't have enough copies. But getting involved in what they're doing, if you know guest speakers or people that do it, Sasha's neighbor, Kimmy's brother is a mycologist, and the kids all loved having him come in and teach us about mushrooms this year. It was amazing. And it was so excellent that he even had to go teach in my husband's class in Kirkland. So it was, but we have great resources that we can put to use for the kids' benefit. Probably the last thing, unless I have questions, is that this packet has an application in it. And the purpose of the application is to have both you and your student spend some time thinking about whether this is a good fit for you. Okay? I've told you this is tougher than going to high school. And it requires some good motivation, so I want you to think about it, and it gives us a chance to look at what's happening this year. So we've asked our 8th graders this year to step up, to try and get everything in on time, to do your best work, to show that you're ready to do this, that you have the maturity and the ability to do it. And so the application piece, one piece for parents because you are involved, and a piece for the student to think about what this would, if this is good, and what would it be like for you. So it's a discussion, and it's an individually commenting on how this works. And then trying to do your absolute best in this semester's classes so you are ready to tackle. High school students have assignments over breaks. Not big ones, but I feel they get an assignment over the summer that they can either take in the spring, at the end of the year and do all summer, or they can take the week before school, the conference week, and do a lot in a short time. Because we have so little time in class that I want them to walk into class every day having done some thinking about the topic. You know, the year we did geology, they all had to come the first day with rocks that were, so many that was such degree of difference or something. I'll often give them a book that deals with our first subject that we're going to deal with. Maybe if we do forensics and the psychology in the fall, it might be a murder mystery. And, I don't know what it will be, but something that helps them make their mental transition into what we talk about intensely in that semester, because we can't waste days. High school kids will have a book over spring break and conference week that has to do with the Middle East. They get to choose, but they just so we have to make our short bit of time in class extremely valuable. We have to use it all well, and so they have to walk in ready to focus for several hours. Because they do have overall less seat time, so there's a lot less waiting time, a lot of doing time, but you can only do if you're ready. Thoughts, concerns, questions? I would like those back by conference week, which is the week after spring break. You can turn them in to Chris or Tabby at the front desk. Put some thought into it. I know there's, you guys have lots of choices of what to do next year. My goal is that you would understand. But yes.
So for this year's weekly schedule that you have on here, the high schoolers come 3 days a week?
Yes.
Okay. So then what if they have transportation issues on Monday when they're just here for one? No. Can they hang out?
We often have an elective on a Monday afternoon too. And there's often, we don't really have our schedule done yet, but they could stay for the elective, we often will have a space on a Monday that is a study hall, and they could do some of their work. And having those open afternoons has been very helpful, because we often do larger projects. The history class this year did a documentary on a change in Washington State history, and they needed a time